everybody. It's Amy, playwright of I Will Wait and artistic director at the Veteran Spouse Project.
Hey guys, it's Lea Johnson, the executive director at the Veteran Spouse Project.
And we just are so excited to be here today. Today, we are going to talk about the production of I Will Wait. It is its 10-year anniversary, which mind-blowing to think.
Mind blowing.
I know that the original production in Fort Wayne, Indiana, back in 2015, wow, 10 years. It's been a decade. It's wild.
Wow.
So anyway, we just really wanted to celebrate all things I Will Wait today. And I'm going to do it with my bestie and partner, Lea. And we are just going to kind of take a deep dive into the show. So for those of you who might not know, I Will Wait, the play is broken down into 5 essentially scenes, and it starts in World War II. Each of those scenes is kind of hinged on a monologue that a spouse shares about whatever kind of struggles or experiences she's having as she is either sending or welcoming her loved one back from war. So the whole play hinges on homecomings and goodbyes. And so they all kind of just touch on different universal truths. Also within those scenes, we've woven, Greg Stieber and I, who wrote the play with me, we've woven the importance and the anchoring of friendships. So in every scene, you see the spouse connect with another military spouse who kind of allows them to be able to move through this experience and be able to share what that looks like. So those are kind of the touch points of all 5 of the scenes. So we start with World War II, and that is a homecoming. Then we move into Korea, which is also a homecoming, and Vietnam, which also happens to be a homecoming. So we walk through all of those in the first act, and then the second act moves into Desert Storm, which is a goodbye. And then the final scene of the play is from the Global War on Terror, which is also a goodbye. So we really just like to look at and talk about those universal things that bubble up.
So the first scene we're going to watch is a clip from the first act of I Will Wait, which is a World War II spouse and her friend as she's preparing to welcome her soldier home. And they're just kind of wrestling and talking through some of the insecurities and hesitations she has, all the questions she has, because they haven't seen each other in years. Like, we forget that war, they were gone for years at a time. So that's what we're going to watch first. This is the one that speaks so deeply to me.
I never doubted that you would come home. I knew that when I saw a man in uniform walk to my door, that it would be him. And I would be happier and more grateful than I've ever been in my whole life.
Good for you.
Well, yes, thank you, but...
But what?
Never mind. Tell me. I knew that when I saw when I saw him in that uniform walk through our door, that I would be the luckiest girl in the whole world.
And you are.
I know I am, but
Could you just tell me?
what if he's not glad to see me?
What on earth are you talking about? He has done this great thing. He left our hometown and got trained to fight and jump out of airplanes. Airplanes!
I can't even imagine what he's seen, what he's experienced, going to places I can only dream of going to.
He went to war.
It was war. I know that, but look at what he did for us. For the country, for the world, really. What have I done?
I'm proud. We all got through it.
I'm proud too. This isn't about pride. It's this. How can someone who did what he did for our country look at me? Me who stayed right here and waited and think that I'm anything special? anything extraordinary. Anything but the girl who married him in a tiny church and kissed him goodbye 5 months later. Will he be the same? How can he be? I'm not the same. 2 years is such a long time. How am I going to make this work? You are his wife.
Oh, that gives me all the feels.
No, friend, that one always got you.
That got me because when I first saw this play, when I first saw I Will Wait, it was in Anchorage, Alaska, and our husbands were deployed. They were over there doing the things, and I could think back on the past 4 deployments when we were newlyweds, or when I had the teeny babies and was raising them all alone. And I remember, it's gonna make me emotional. Like, I remember that deep-seated fear of, like, I'm just like nursing babies and wiping spit up. Like, I'm not doing anything. And he would call me and be like, Lea, I just saw women in Baghdad going to college. Like, you're doing things that are literally changing the world for the better. And a lot, right? I know that like romanticizes war a little bit, and I understand that that's not all there is to it, but there were these moments where you're like, hey, you're involved in something that's so much bigger than the square mileage of this hometown that I'm living in. And so I could just resonate with her, and especially thinking about that time frame where people didn't leave their hometowns. Like, they graduated high school, they went to the factory, started to work, or maybe they went to college, but they stayed in that radius. So that, like, I don't know, like, I can get where she romanticizes going and doing these big things, even though it's so nuanced and there's so much, questionable hard behind it. I don't know. It just, and especially the time frame when I saw this and he was gone and he was doing these things that in pockets were really impacting some people's lives for the better.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right. It's easy for us to forget that, like, no one rode in an airplane, let alone jumped out of one. Like,
that's such a good point too.
The idea that he was even flying in an airplane and then was jumping out of them had to feel like he was almost literally on another planet. Like, it would have, I imagined, be so unimaginable.
Like, you're actually a superhero.
Yeah, and then also, like, so hard. I think about this sometimes too, like, when Jamie was deployed, or, obviously I've never been to Iraq, I've never been to Afghanistan, but, we have books and movies and the endless internet to educate us and show us and give us a feel for what that is. But for these people, like, to imagine him in those places would have been, I don't even know how you could, right? Like, it would just have felt so big.
Yeah.
And yeah, because we all know that it's not like also they weren't reporting like they do now all of the hard, terrible things that these soldiers were walking through. So you would know, because that war is awful and hard and terrible, but you wouldn't, like we know now. We understand as best as we can understand without being in that circumstance ourselves. But I would imagine for them it was, like, you're right, like, romanticized even in some ways, because it would have been hard to wrap your mind around it and to think, I'm just here in my little hometown.
Didn't do anything special. Right, because they, World War II, the entire country was involved. The entire country was involved, right? Like, that people were signing up. I can't get over the stories of people, like, getting fake IDs at 17 so that they could join the army. I got fake IDs for a very different reason when I was young. Yeah. But, just the idea of them, like, the entire country was behind this. Like, it really was the greatest generation. If you've never gone down the rabbit hole of what people were doing during World War II, spouses, children back at home, and the soldiers themselves, like, go down that rabbit hole and it will blow your mind.
Really inspiring.
Really, really inspiring. And then to put the the punctuation on it when she is spinning in her insecurities and the friend just looks over and was like, but you're his wife. And I do love that. Like, there's this tone of like, he did like, and I can remember thinking that like, wait, but I'm the one he chose. Like, I'm who he chose to keep his home fires burning. Like, I'm who he chose to, because he trusts me to raise his babies and he trusts me to keep his kind of like affairs in order, right? Like I'm who he chose. And that, I think there is like a sweet piece in that at times, you know, there's just this sweet piece.
Absolutely.